Hey everyone, I wanted to just pop in today and give you guys a few tips on your macros and also remind you about some healthy eating principles, okay? So, a lot of you guys I know are busy with vacations and just kids being off of school and really trying to work through the summer routine, which is kind of like a lack of routine. So I want to talk a little bit about some getting back to basics today to really help you work through, getting back into your fall routine and kind of working your way through summer. So first things first, last week we talked about getting started with your macros. You guys got your macro calculations, your numbers, so you know what you should be targeting for your workout days and for your non-workout days. So just to make sure that we are on the same page and to recap some of those things that we talked about last week, we want to make sure that when we are, working on those macros, that you're really prioritizing lean protein and non-starchy vegetables in every single meal. And again, we want to make sure that we are getting no more than 30 grams of protein per meal and no less, because remember, our body's only has the ability to break down 30 grams of protein at a time. In any excess, it actually converts it into carbohydrates. And remember that veggies, there's a lot of vegetables as well that also have protein in them. So things like broccoli, edamame, they are high in protein. So look at your app on your phone and look at some of those veggies where you can be loading up on those veggies and getting protein from them. And so speaking of your phone, make sure that you're really planning those macros in your phone ahead of time so you're not grazing throughout the day. That is probably the biggest issue a lot of people are faced with. And I will give you an example for me personally today. So I went into mine. I didn't do a very good job of planning my macros this week just because I wasn't feeling very well last weekend. And so I was kind of winging it this week. But I generally have a really good idea of how to hit my macros pretty spot on. So I don't worry about it that much. I don't get super obsessed about it. But like, for instance, here's mine. And I already have all my meals in here for today. So when I got up this morning, I loaded up my app and I'm like, okay, what am I having for breakfast? What am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? And I already have this planned out because I have a meal plan that I put together every Friday or Saturday. I know what I'm going to be making for the following week. And so I already know like what things I have in the house, what snacks I have, what protein powders I have, where my collagen is if I need to order some, and then what veggies I want to add in. And so I know every day what meals, what leftovers I have based on that meal plan. So when I get up in the morning, first thing I do before I even get out of bed is I actually put in exactly what I'm going to eat throughout the day. That way I know what I'm going to eat, and it's not like I'm going to be like, okay, what should I eat for lunch? What should I eat for dinner? What should I eat for breakfast? Because when you get stuck in that trap, that's when you get that, that you get fallen victim into eating things that you probably normally would not select. And so today, what I was trying to tell you about, if you don't really plan ahead for your macros, what ends up happening is you don't really hit them as easily. So today, my protein is pretty good. I have 117 grams. I could probably, get about another 20 grams of protein just by drinking like a protein shake this afternoon, and that's probably what I'll do because I did work out twice today. And then I have 39 grams of fat, which is perfect. That's exactly where I should be. And then 83 grams of carbs. And this is where it's a struggle for me because I tend to eat lower carb, but on the days that I work out a lot, I always have to remind myself I may not be hungry for those carbs, but my muscles need them for recovery and for repair. So when you're not really hungry for those carbs, you still have to fill them up. But so like today, I didn't do a really great job of planning my macros because I only have 83 grams and I really should be like around 120, 130 grams of carbs. So that means I'll probably have to fill it in with like an apple and maybe some string cheese and maybe some more fruit later tonight. I like to have fruit after dinner. I already had oatmeal today. I already had a granola bar. I already had a little bit of fruit. I'll probably add like some carrots or some kind of starchy vegetable in with my dinner that I already have planned just to try to kind of get my carb macro up for the day. So that's an example where I didn't really like plan very well, but I've done it enough that I know, okay, I'll just eat an apple. That's about 20 to 25 grams of carbs. I can get that number up very easily. So just make sure that you're trying to plan ahead and putting those numbers in your phone. Because you don't want to get caught in a situation where you have to eat an extra meal at night. And that has happened to me, where I've actually had to eat a whole nother meal to like get my macros. And I will tell you, do not undereat your macros. You need every one of them every single day if you want to reach your goals. The other thing is, if you come up with a meal plan and you realize that your meal plan really isn't that filling, which can happen just depending on like where your macros land. Sometimes you'll get like a smaller breakfast and a larger lunch and dinner, just depending on the type of meal that and recipes that you're using, and that happens. When that happens, if you fear like I'm gonna be really hungry at lunch because this is not gonna fill me up, think about how you can add non-starchy veggies and some healthy fat to maybe help fill you up as a gap. So in my book, you want to hit those macros every day, but in my book, vegetables are free. And any non-starchy vegetable is free. You can eat as many as you want as far as I am concerned. So if you are in that situation where you're like, I don't really think that this is going to fill me up, think about the different vegetables that you can add to that meal and make sure that you make them filling. Add hot sauce, add sriracha, add, whatever it is, whatever flavoring that you like to make it more enticing so that it does really fill you up. So don't underestimate those veggies. You really, really need to get those 6 to 8 servings every single day. And the other point I wanted to make here is that on your lower carb days, you may not feel as full. And as far as I'm concerned, when we eat our meals, we really should stop eating when you feel about 80% full. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of digestion and breaking down that happens. So you want to make sure that you stop eating by the time you're about 80% full so that you're not over full, you're not bloated feeling, okay? So you do not need to be full all the time. This is a common misconception with people. I think a lot of people who have been dieting for a really long time, they are so used to being restricted that they get super anxious and nervous and upset and just fearful of that kind of restrictive feeling of not feeling full. So they get really nervous about that. So don't feel nervous about that. You do not need to be full all the time. So then last but not least, what I wanted to talk about was, just healthy eating principles. A lot of you guys were in my 14-day sugar reset challenge, so if you're finding yourself throughout the summer that you're kind of lapsing and falling back into old habits, put yourself back on that challenge for, 1 week or 14 days or whatever works for you. I would say that, for the majority of people who want to lose weight or who really want to reduce their sugar cravings, you really want to prioritize that lean protein, veggies, and healthy fat at every single breakfast. And you want to try to keep those complex carbohydrates to more in the evening time. And so 1 or 2 servings only. And also just getting those 6 to 8 servings of non-starchy vegetables every single day. That's actually a lot of vegetables. And the more that you eat, kind of the less hungry that you are going to feel throughout the day. I will tell you, I really do eat 6 to 8 vegetables every single day. And I don't really have a lot of food cravings. I don't crave, a hamburger and fries. I don't crave desserts like I used to. I mean, those cravings used to be super, super intense for me. And I don't have those type of cravings because 80 to 90% of the time I eat this way. And so when you eat a certain way 80 to 90% of the time, and it's just kind of a natural habit that you've made, those other foods just feel less attractive to you. So really prioritizing, again, that lean protein, non-starchy veggies, and healthy fat, getting a balance of those in earlier in the day and then later in the day eating those complex carbs. And if any of you guys do want to try to do the 14-day sugar challenge, again, it's going to be coming up September 10th. That is going to be the last challenge for the year because Lord knows after September, everybody's going to have like pumpkin on the brain, and then there's like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and nobody's going to want to do that kind of challenge until after Christmas. So September 10th will be the last challenge, and as a Skinny Fetalicious member, you guys do get in free. And if you've done it before, you can definitely join again. If you've never done it before, you can definitely join it. So I'll talk to you guys more and more about that as that comes up in the next several weeks. The other thing to keep in mind, healthy eating principles. So not just so much about balancing macros, not so much about eating, a certain amount of protein and fat or veggies, but more about some of our other habits, right? So making sure that you are getting plenty of really good quality sleep, drinking tons and tons of water, especially in the summer. You need to be drinking way more water than what you do actually in the winter. And then also making sure that you're replenishing that water for any type of workouts that you do, as well as any type of caffeine that you're drinking, because caffeine does dehydrate you. Then the other thing, speaking of caffeine, is managing caffeine and stress, because caffeine and stress, too much of those things are going to contribute to food eating and overeating and sugar cravings. So really want to make sure that you're mindful of those along with your healthy eating principles. Because, as we know, when we get really, really tired, what ends up happening is your body looks for quick energy through food. And that could be just from lack of sleep. That could be from stress. That could be from like family stress or work stress. And it could just be from, pure anxiety or depression. People who are anxious and really depressed definitely have increased cortisol, increased stress, and they have a harder time, managing some of those things. So look for ways to really try to calm yourself down. Do things that really help you feel more enjoyable through life, things that are good for you, not necessarily good for everyone else. And I know it can be really easy, especially when you have kids and families, to put their priorities first. But you can't take care of others if you are not healthy. You don't want to end up being, somebody who's 60, 70, 80 years old who is in, an assisted living home because you have made everything else in your life a priority and not yourself. So those are just some things for you guys to think about as you're working through the week, staying active, staying hydrated, eating enough protein, getting enough veggies, taking them with you. I went to a conference last Saturday, and it was a 40-minute drive from my house. I mean, I had an apple in my purse. I had a protein shake. I had a bag of carrots, a bag of celery, and a bag of broccoli. So, look for those ways to grab a lot of those foods. It's a lot of times, it's a lot easier than we make it out to be. We try to make things super complicated, but try to go back to those basics, especially this time of year when life is super, super busy. All right, guys, so if you guys have questions around your macros or around anything that I talked about today, just leave them in the comments below and I will get back to you guys. Bye.